This video is going to be a debunk of SethTheProgrammer's debunk Toph versus Gaara death battle. I think that SethTheProgrammer is biased towards Naruto. Personally, I'm biased towards Avatar. The only reason why I'm biased towards Avatar is because I've watched Avatar more than I've watched Naruto, right? SethTheProgrammer obviously hasn't watched an episode of Avatar ever in his life. So let's get into that. The first feat that he totally gets wrong is he says that Toph's only tower level, right? And Gaara's town level, right? Which isn't true, right? It's just not true. He just shows you the tower. He just shows you the building. And he says, oh, she's just lifting that. No, she's lifting this massive, huge structure that's under the tower. It's massive, right? And he doesn't even show you the pictures of the tower. He doesn't even show you it, and it just shows how untruthful he is, right? I wouldn't say that this structure is town level. I mean, part of the dynamic of the structure is it's always building because it's a library, and the library is always getting new books and such, and so it might grow to be a town, but I don't think it's really comparable to Gaara's feat of covering a town in sand. Like, I don't think personally. But it just shows how untruthful SethTheProgrammer is being, right? And part of the fight of Gaara versus Toph is Gaara more powerful than Toph? No, it's a different reason. There's a different reason why Toph wins than Gaara, right? So he goes into it that Toph was struggling holding this one building. She was struggling. No, she wasn't. She was just fighting people, right? She was fighting people and she was kicking ass while holding this building. She can't do both. And here's the real reason why Toph wins versus Gaara, right? Toph can just use Gaara's sand against him, right? She can basically dispel Gaara's sand attacks, right? And make him do nothing, right? And SethTheProgrammer says, well, I don't think Toph can do that because because Gaara has a chakra in his sand, and she can't really do that. Well, Gaara's sand is still sand, even if it has chakra in it, right? Part of metal bending, which Toph made, is that you find the little bits of earth inside of the metal, and you bend that instead of bending the purified parts, right? And she'd basically do that towards Gaara's sand. She'd just find the little bits of earth inside of Gaara's sand because it's still sand, and she'd bend it. And then he says, Gaara's killed a person whose armor is 5 times harder than steel, and basically how Gaara did that is he covered this guy in sand and basically squished him. No, if that happened to his Toph would just sand bend her way out of it, and she'd be like, what up, let's go. And it's just like, he also goes into this part where bloodbenders can, well, he says that, benders can't manipulate, tissue or flesh or spiritual things because it's just not that. And then he saves his ass by saying, well, the only reason why bloodbenders are able to do what their thing is because they have to have a full moon. They have to have a full moon to bend blood, but that's not true. You just have to be a powerful enough bloodbender to bend blood when the moon isn't out, right? And so, Katara can bend blood without there being a moon out. She just doesn't want to do it because it's the most fucked up thing to do in Avatar, is to bloodbend. And so there's been multiple bloodbenders who can bloodbend without the moon being out, right? And there's also another thing in Avatar, and it's called spirit bending. And some people might say, well, spirit bending is only for, it's only for water, like metal bending is for earth, right? Well, that's not true, because air is the most spiritual element. Like, it's the most spiritual element of them all, and if it can't do spirit bending, then what the fuck, right? Spirit bending is for every element, right? Not just water. You can spirit bend with any element. What spirit bending is it's taking a spirit, a bad spirit, and changing it for the better, and like dispelling it or making it go away. And so the second thing is, well, Toph can't do that. Spirit bending was in Legend of the Korra. And yeah, probably, maybe she can't do it, but I believe that Toph can do anything with Earth. Anything that there is to do with Earth, she can do, right? She can mud bend, she can sand bend, she can metal bend, she can probably even lava bend. We don't know if she can lava bend, but she can probably do that. And he also goes into saying that, oh, well, if we matched ages with Gara versus Toph, Gara would just Shrek her. And have you seen what Toph's feat is? Like, her end goal feat? Like, her best feat ever is that she's connected with the world, with this tree. This tree has roots that go all over the world, and it's actually, the roots are made out of spirit energy. So Toph would just spirit bend all of Gara's chakra away, and she'd be like, what up, right? And here's where the real thing is. Toph versus Gara. Toph can just dispel, she can just dispel any, not dispel, but she can just counter every single attack that Gara can send at her, right? That's part of earthbending, is being able to disintegrate or counter another earthbender's move. And Toph is the number one earthbender. She shits on people. She does that all the time. Earthbenders are like, I'm gonna throw a boulder at you. She catches it in the air and disintegrates it and throws it away and then fucking pones them, right? And so it's just like, whatever. And another thing that he says is that the speed stat that they give him, I probably believe that Gara is faster than Toph, but there's also one thing to consider, and that's that Toph doesn't see, right? She uses echolocation to see things. And so Toph, I mean, she has an advantage in her reaction speed because of her echolocation through the earth. And as I believe Gara only has sight to see and to react to things, and like ears or whatever. But if I'm wrong on that, then I'm sorry. But Toph can, there's this feat that she has that she can tell if you're lying by if your heart starts pumping harder or less, right? And so Toph can sense the blood running through your veins, the motion of your hand before you're even motioning it. And I believe that Gara is probably still faster, even when you consider this, because the speed stat that he says is that Zuko can bend lightning, and lightning's as fast, lightning's fast, so Toph has to be just as fast as a lightning bender. And when you have that, and that Toph can probably sense the blood that goes through your veins before you actually make a move, before you actually do something, that probably brings it equal. That's probably a little less than Gara's speed stat, but that's something to consider. And all Toph has to do to counter your move, like dodging, all she has to do is take the hit, right? And if she takes the hit, by the time it hits her body, by all this time, she's probably being able to react. And by the time it hits her body, by anything that hits her body, she can just bend it and disintegrate it. And then it's like, what the fuck, right? Toph doesn't have to dodge. Toph just has to tank. And she can tank anything, right? She's a freaking beast. Alright. And so, that's the reason why SethTheProgrammer is kind of lying. I just wanted to call him out on his shit for this once time. SethTheProgrammer sometimes good, sometimes bad, but yeah, this is one thing that SethTheProgrammer's got wrong, and share it. I don't know. Tell SethTheProgrammer, your boy's coming for you. So bye.